Okay, today on Homeowner, we're going to go over 5 basic tools that every first-time home buyer should have. The description would say every man should have, but that's for SEO. I think everybody should have it. I know when I put together my kits for my oldest, some of these tools were in there, and I think it's a good tool for everybody. So let's go over those tools. Okay, so there's a lot of different types of screwdrivers, and at some point we'll get into all of them. You know, there's straights, there's Phillips, longs, shorts. But one nice thing about it, especially if you're just starting, is these combo tools. You can have Phillips on one end, big and small straights. They just snap right into that body. And then also there's a driver as well. And then you can get these with simple ones like this, or you can have 20 or 30 different bits on here. Something like this will cost you like $9. And that's what I'm looking at as far as people who are just starting, moving into your first apartment or your first house. What do I need for this? So I would say multi-tool. These work great. On the theme of multi-tools is a 5-in-1 tool. I gave my other one away, so I had to get a new one for the video. So these things are great. And they say 5-in-1, but they do more than 5. So there's a basic scraper or putty knife. Everybody needs a putty knife, but this is where a putty knife stops. Basic putty knife. You can pull small nails with it. This is a roller cleaner, so if you do any painting, you're trying to clear the paint out, that's what this end's for. You can actually cut with this small section here. It can be used as a box cutter. You can pry paint cans with this end of it. You can even tap in small nails with the very end of it, with like a pummel. And this is kind of one of the, I'll say, lesser ones. The other ones have hexes cut in them for bolts and everything else. So really is very handy tool, especially for the first timer. I like that you can use it as a putty knife or a scraper or whatever you want. Very handy tool. From there, I also think everybody needs a level. Now what I would go for is these levels with this V on the back. And that's if you're hanging up, let's say, a curtain rod or something. It'll sit on the rod with the V, and that way you can see if it's level. A lot of them have magnetics on the back, so if you're hanging something magnetic, it'll stick to it. And later we're going to get on how to use a level properly, how to check and make sure they're level, but that'll be another video. So some kind of multi-level. You don't need a huge level. You're not doing framing work. You know, we have a 48-inch level too, but for basic, this will do just about anything you need to do, especially for you know, if you're a first timer. Another one that's missed is, and you can pick, it doesn't matter, either a basic crescent wrench or a pair of pliers. Now you don't necessarily need to get into the big jumbo pliers unless you're going to get into the little plumbing work or for little things around the house. Pair of pliers are invaluable. There's so many things you can do with it. If you need to tighten up a fitting under the sink or something, your pliers are going to come in very handy. Crescent wrench, you can use either or. If you have a crescent wrench, that's fine. If not, I would go pliers. But if you had both, that's great. Next, tape measure. Now I don't like the little, it has nothing to do with the little dinky tape measures, but if you're using it around, especially if you're only one there, you want this thing to be able to extend. You know, some of these, like these Fat Max 25s, this thing will extend out probably 10 foot or better, and it works really nice because it'll catch on the sides, catch on this hook. And that's something we'll eventually get into, is how do you use a tape measure better, how do you use this hook, and what do all the markings on it mean. But good tape measure, you'll have this thing forever. You know, some of my older ones, you know, I probably had this tape measure 10-15 years at least, and I would say more than anything, I lose them more than I wear them out. And lastly, something everybody forgets about: basic pencil. Now, in a few projects, if I know that I'm not going to do anything else with it, I might use a Sharpie. But your basic pencil, if you're wanting to hang pictures or something on the wall, everybody overlooks a simple one. Don't use ballpoint pen, because if you don't like where it's at, pencil will rub off. So, you know, and these are things that sometimes you're not told or shown. You have to learn by trials and tribulations. Well, trust me on this, don't use a Sharpie or a pen on your walls. You can do a lot. You know, if you're trying to mark something with level, it works out great. Just use your pencil. So those are the big top 5. And there's a couple things that I would say always goes along with that. You want to expand past basic hammer, you will use it. Hang pictures if you're not going to put a screw in the wall. You want to pound a small nail in. Small hammer is always great. You don't need this big giant framing hammer. Most people will never use it. Almost everybody has the basic box cutter or pocket knife. And then a chisel. And one thing nice about this chisel is it's got a file built into it. So you can file things, you can chisel. So while this is a top 5, we're going to expand a little bit, just a couple other items, so that when you're at the Walmart or Home Depot or Lowe's, and a lot of this stuff is very inexpensive. You know, Multitools $10, levels around $10, 5-in-1 tools about $7. We all know pencils aren't expensive. Hammer maybe cost you another $5 or $10. Chisel's about the same. So then as you start expanding your kit, you know, that's when you get into stuff like cordless drills. And you'll definitely want to eventually get something that you can put them in, whether it's a bag or a box. I've grown to like the bags more than the boxes, because a lot of times they'll collapse down. And when I put the bag in the back of my Jeep or around the house, it doesn't beat everything up. We start out with just your basic 5 tools. We expanded it out a little bit, but if you get those 5 basic tools, if you're a new apartment owner, new homeowner, whatever you're doing just around the house, we'll get into 5 tools you need if you're going to work on your car. But those 5 tools will get you through a lot of things, and that'll allow you to start building your kit. You get into saws, the different kind of wrenches and everything. But for your very basics, these will get you through a lot of things. You'll always find more tools you need. With that, Holmeshowdoi. If you liked what we did here, please give me some kind of feedback and comments. All this stuff will be in the descriptions. I'll put a link you can buy all this stuff through Amazon if you want. So remember to like, subscribe, and share, and we'll catch you on the next tip.